Hey there, boys. Future Ethan again. This thing was sent over for free by Thomas Balisong and Haynut for the purpose of me checking it out, but any and all opinions are my own. I wasn't paid to say anything. You guys know the drill. Thank you to Thomas for sending this thing out. On with the video. Reunited at last. Welcome back, BB Superfly. Oh my gosh, I missed this thing quite a bit. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Blade Bias. Hopefully you enjoyed our last upload. Actually, it would have been just yesterday as I'm posting this. With Pyro. That actually wasn't supposed to be the April Fool's video. Believe it or not, I did have a plan for April Fool's, and then I didn't write it down, just like I would do, and I forgot about it. So, the timing just happened to perfectly line up that Pyro's video could go up on April Fool's, and I messaged him, and I was like, hey, do you want the video to go up on April Fool's? And he was like, yes, that would be so funny. And I said, cool. Today, we are back to your regularly scheduled content. And by regularly scheduled, I mean the week with the Hey Nut. Hey Nut. That's weird. Baikal. Baikal. I'm going to call it the Baikal. This is a Balisong from Thomas Balisong. He's the one who reached out to me to see if I wanted to check it out. And it was produced by the company Haynut, which is essentially just Marcolo, I don't even remember the other names that they go by, but they go by a bunch of different names on Amazon, which was kind of shady to me. Thomas explained it as, hey, we do this because Amazon screws us over and we need to keep our stuff up. Which isn't untrue. I think this thing actually went down on Amazon shortly after it was sent. But like Nabali's has one brand and they have more Balisongs up on Amazon than all of these subsidiaries combined, which is interesting. But whatever the case for their split up, isn't really important because it's time to check out the Baikal. A Balisong that I initially liked a little bit, if you caught my unboxing video, but it was largely marred by the fact that I lost half of the first recording for me actually flipping this thing. Excuse me. So, where does that leave us after the week with the Baikal? I think it leaves us in a pretty good spot. I would say this is the reverse of the Nikiri, a Balisong that I started out with, like kind of lukewarm in the initial unboxing video. And then with the Nikiri, I grew to not really have any change of opinions. But with this, I actually came to really, really enjoy it. And we'll get into why in a little bit here. So, the Baikal, a very interesting Balisong. As I mentioned, made by Haynut, designed, I think, by Thomas Balisong. The details are a little bit fuzzy on this one. I probably should have done a little more research into all of this before I accepted it. But the truth is that the design wowed me enough to make me say, you know what? Let me drop it again. No, the design wowed me enough to make me go, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And I'm happy that I did. Because this thing is pretty solid, all things considered. 7075 aluminum Balisong running for $160 to $170 on Amazon, at least when it was up on Amazon, weighing in at about 3.8, 3.9 ounces, somewhere in that range, and featuring a very, very interesting blade with these beautiful teal blue handles, all inspired by Lake Baikal in Russia. I did see the reference picture that they used in their posts. I can see the resemblance. It wasn't one-to-one, but I don't think you could expect it to be on a product like this. And featuring a very original design, despite some criticisms of this being very Benchmade. I don't find it to be a Benchmade clone. I find it to be Benchmade inspired, which I think is pretty cool. And I also realized that this blade is more than likely partially a callback to like the trainer blades on the 51, like the Morpho that Flytanium made, because you had like that kind of diamond shape in the middle, and this kind of has that. It's not exact, obviously, but I think it's pretty cool. I like the look of it quite a bit, and I think that is ultimately what makes me like the Baikal so much. Ty used to talk a lot about when he was on this channel, and if you don't know who Ty is, he was the one who uploaded like a week back. A lot of people were like, wait, I thought this was one guy. Nope, it used to be two. But Ty used to talk all about how Balisongs would make him want to pick them up. He would see them lying on his desk, and it would just be so intriguing to him that he had to pick it up and flip it around a little bit. And, wow, I just can't flip today, apparently. And I think the Baikal does that expertly. Maybe not expertly, but it's a grade A example of that happening to me, because every time I see it, I am pulled in by its beautiful blade, or if it's closed, the beautiful teal handles, and I just can't help but pick it up and flip it around for a little bit. I think there's a term in the guitar industry called like vibe or like the jive. If there's a guitar person out there, let me know. I heard this term from the guitarist from Polyphia, actually, where a guitar just has this feeling that makes you want to pick it up and play it. And I think that's really the strength of the Baikal here. Because the design, at least for me, I know design is very subjective, but it makes me just want to pick it up and flip it. And when I do flip it, I'm pleasantly surprised that it flips very, very well when I actually can flip, because I'm absolutely murdering all of my attempts to do any tricks that I'm normally quite capable of off camera. But it flips very, very well. It's a light Balisong, so some people aren't going to be into that. What is happening today? It's a light Balisong, so some people aren't going to be into that, I understand, but I find that it carries enough momentum. I did have a little bit of weirdness coming into the Baikal with the momentum, and I think I still do, just because whenever I go back to my wing, which used to feel incredible to me, the wing feels a little bit goofy now. So there is actually no, the wing feels quite good still, but I think the Baikal was just a case of I just had to get used to it, and also because I was so poorly flipping when I unboxed this thing, which is why you can't review a Balisong 2 days after you get it. You got to spend a little time with it. Not that this is a review, which I always say, but you know, you have to spend a little bit more time with a Balisong to get your opinions on it really, really in there. And to figure out any little annoyances that you have with a product. Even though I really, really like the Baikal, there are a few annoyances here that I do want to voice. Mostly, it doesn't feel like the most refined Balisong in the world. So this thing comes in at 160 to 170. You're coming up right against something like the Firefly, which I will agree, the Firefly also has a tiny bit of an unrefined feel to it. But there aren't many surfaces on the Firefly that are like sharp to the touch. Most everything is pretty well machined. Even something like the Orion, I would say, has pretty good okay finish all the way around. Specifically the 1.5. I know that's the V1, but I found that this had a lot of sharp angles, and the jimping, which we will get to, is a great example, but that's actually an example of where I want it to be sharp. One that really annoyed me was right here. So if you can see, the channel comes along, and then there's a relief right here. If you look inside, you can see, I don't even know if you can see what I'm pointing at. I hope you can. You can see there's like that angle, and that is the relief for the blade. And right where that happens, the channel becomes sharp, and it's sharp. Like, up here, it feels relatively fine. It's maybe a little sharp, but it feels like your Orion. It's nothing that bad. But down here, it becomes a 90-degree angle, and it actually catches on your finger. And that goes all the way down into the jimping, which when you combine the fact that the jimping already feels a little sharp, the bottom half of the channel is very, very sharp. And especially when I was flipping with cold hands, I went home over the weekend for Easter, and my room is in the basement, and I am always too lazy, especially when I'm only staying over for a night, to turn on the heat. So I just kind of flipped down there with like 60, it's like 68 or something, I don't know. And this, when my hands were cold, was kind of just hurt a little bit, because your hands are always a little more sensitive when they're cold. And it wasn't exactly the greatest thing in the world. Also, in some areas of sharpness is the bite handle indicator. This is another area where I'm going to give it a pass, since the bite handle indicator is doing what it's meant to. So it's not a huge deal. The spine of the blade feels okay. In fact, I would say it feels mostly good. I would like a little bit more rounding, but I think that is a personal preference thing. overall, besides those things, the Baikal actually feels quite good. There's a few pinching issues with this Zen nipple, but this design is just always going to produce something like that, especially if you flip like I do and you have a bunch of Balisongs that don't really have that problem, something like the Slift T. Whenever I scissor, there's no problems there. So you get in something like this, and it'll grab you every once in a while. It'll probably be worse for someone who's a little bit newer to Balisong flipping. But yeah. Otherwise, how do I like the Baikal? Those are my little complaints. I think this thing flips great. It carries an okay amount of momentum. I would like a little bit more for my preferences, but that's preference. I think from a more objective view, it carries just the right amount of momentum that you would want in an aluminum Balisong like this. The balance is pretty good. I would say neutral to slight handle bias. Fans feel amazing, even if they look a little weird because of the blade. Choker fans feel very good. Rollovers feel very good. Zero Gs even. Zero Gs are not the stickiest thing in the world, but they are still you're still perfectly capable of doing them. I didn't really find myself struggling on any tricks with the Baikal, and that was very, very good. One thing that I do want to say is I said in the initial video that it didn't feel very rounded. And while I still think that this is a mostly square Balisong, it does actually, when you choker fan it, feel more round than I gave it credit for. Something like my Slift T, I actually found myself like, because these are the two Balisongs that oh my gosh. These are the two Balisongs that I brought home over the weekend. And going back and forth between them, I found myself actually kind of struggling with the Slift T. It felt a little blocky, which was just the result of my cold hands, I think. But it kind of showed me how rounded the Baikal actually feels with the rounded edges on the handles. And it feels very nice. Other than that, some standouts in the Baikal, besides, the design, is the jimping. The jimping is genuinely fantastic on this thing. Probably the best jimping I've ever felt on an aluminum Balisong. It's sharp, it digs into your hand, but I want it to. I want it to do that because I want that grip. My only complaint here is that it doesn't go up high enough, but that is also a skill issue to do with my ladders. My ladders, the way that I do them, I never am able to stay on the end of the Balisong. I'll always end up laddering a little bit higher than I think I should, which isn't great. But I acknowledge that that's my problem. I would absolutely love, though, if the jimping went up as high as something like the Prisma does. Just those extra few lines, I think, could do wonders for people learning ladders, especially since this is genuinely some of the best jimping I've felt on an aluminum Balisong. If not, maybe just jimping in general, I'll be honest. It's really good. And as for grip elsewhere, I think it's good. I'll admit, I don't really get a ton from the hole pattern, but I'm sure that if I tried a version of this without the hole pattern, it would feel much more slippery. I think most of the work is coming from the, however subtle, face pattern here. Although, again, if I tried it without either of them, I'd probably miss them more than I really think. But a lot of people were talking about the lack of grip right here, which I do agree with, but thankfully this comes with a very, almost satiny finish, which feels very good. And I don't really have any problems with grip on this thing whatsoever, because I'm used to aluminum Balisongs. I'm used to how they flip. I'm used to how they lack in grip. I don't really have a problem with it. So overall, then, the Baikal, I think, is a huge win. The tolerances are great. The build overall feels good. The balance is nice. I will admit, I find myself missing something like my Kraken trainer whenever I flip it and then I go to my Kraken trainer. In some ways, the Baikal feels like a better Kraken trainer. In other ways, it feels like an inferior Kraken trainer. Specifically like comfort, the Kraken trainer wins out. The Kraken trainer carries a little bit more momentum somehow, despite having this cutout at the end of the handle. It's weird. And it kind of depends on what I'm feeling. Like sometimes I'll pick up the Baikal and go, oh, I like this better because it has a more neutral balance and it's a little bit lighter. But then other times I'll pick up my Kraken trainer and I'll go, ooh, I prefer the momentum of this, or I prefer the weight of this. Especially my Firefly. Firefly carries so much momentum that like I really enjoy flipping this after I flip the Baikal for a while. It's really weird. So this just happens to be another one of those things. It's like, it's situational, yes, but I do enjoy flipping it. I've actually carried it around far more than any of my other Balisongs for the week that I've had it so far, because it's just fun and it's nice and it's cool. I like it. The biggest, I will say, one huge nitpick that I have, please make the hardware silver. Please make the hardware silver. I think it would just tie everything together so much better. You've already got the silver Zen pins. You've already got the silver blade. Do the hardware silver. Please, I beg of you. It would look so nice. I think it would look so much better. But yeah, I think that's about it. That's the Baikal. A Balisong that I really wasn't expecting to get much out of, to be honest with you. I thought this would just kind of be another Balisong from Amazon that is like fine, and then you flip it and it's like, yeah, this is pretty good, but I'm gonna pick anything else any day of the week. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm probably gonna switch something here out for it so that I can flip it and look at it more often. This was a very long-winded video. Sorry, I had a lot to say about this thing, but yeah, I enjoy it. Solid recommendation for me if you can even buy this thing anymore. And good job to Thomas, and thank you to Thomas for sending me this. I really appreciate it. As always, all opinions expressed in this video were my own. Wasn't paid or anything like that, but I did get sent this for free from Thomas. So thank you for sending it out for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.